Okay, welcome back to Billy Goat Wargaming. It's Sean again, and this is the second video towards this solo play nostalgia trip for the old version of AK47. So it's a dictatorship army facing off against a People's Popular Front. So we've got the Sons of the Phalanx Alliance, which are the dictatorship against the Marxist intervention workers. So the dictatorship, and I've taken these armies from an old copy of lists from a BricsCon from, I don't know, this must be 2003, 4, 5, something like this. So these are quite old now, but I've chosen first of all as the dictatorship, as the Sons of the Phalanx Alliance, this army, which is 2 tanks for Unit 1, 2 armoured cars with tank gun and small arms for Unit 2, 4 small arms, 2 RPGs and 1 truck with RCL. Well, I've changed that actually to a truck with a machine gun. In fact, I've done that for all 3 trucks now that you'll see. Then 2 militia units of 6 small arms, 2 RPGs and a truck with a machine gun, and 6 small arms, 2 RPGs, 1 truck with a machine gun. And that is going to face off against a People's Popular Front army, which was originally played by a Mr. Richard Tyson, with Unit 1 being 2 tanks and 1 armoured car with a tank gun, Unit 2 4 small arms, 1 truck, and then which will carry the 4 small arm bases, and then 3 trucks with recoilless rifles. Unit 3 is 4 small arms, 1 RPG, 1 truck, and I think I've given that actually a HMG as well, plus HMG with the unit. Unit 4, 4 small arms, 1 RPG, 1 HMG, and then the militia unit is 6 small arms, 1 RPG and 1 HMG. And they are laid out on this tray here. So the dictatorship army is to the, let's just put that on there, is to the left here, and here we have the People's Popular Front. This is a load of dead figures that I'll be needing. The Mercedes is carrying the overall commander for the dictatorship, and here we have the People's Popular Front leader giving a suitable salute to his men. The actual figures on the base don't actually matter, so the guy here has got a anti-aircraft rocket launcher thing, and his other bodyguard as such here has got an LMG, but that doesn't really matter. So the next stage before we actually get to play the game is to spend political points. So if we look at Richard Tyson's list here, we can see he spent 68 points on political manoeuvre. So I'm going to show you how that works now. Let's move these few things out of the way. Basically, this can give advantages or disadvantages to the on-table force that you're going to use. And here we've got the manoeuvre chart for the People's Popular Front. So we read each narrative as we go and then apply the benefit or not. So we start off by whipping up dissent to the existing regime, which fits in nicely with the story that Zatumni is breaking out into civil war, and the People's Popular Front leader, who I haven't named yet, but is rather upset with how the government is leading the country. So we're whipping up dissent. So it says here the cost for this is to roll 6d6. So this will be taken off the total of 68 points. So we can see here that we have 11, 14, 17, 23. So I take that off the total of 68, putting us down to 45 political points left. And now we look at the effect, which on a 1, 2 or 3 the people are not impressed, or on a 4, 5 or 6 we get 100 points of militia quality infantry with small arms added to an existing unit if there are any. Owner's choice of unit. Now within the militia, within Richard Tyson's army, there is just the one militia unit here, which is 6 small arms, 1 RPG and 1 HMG. So let's see if we get to add an extra 100 points to that unit. So on a 4, 5 or 6 we get it. I'll always roll it in the tray, and there we go. So the People's Popular Front have done really well, and I've got an extra 100 points of militia infantry, which is quite a lot really. So if they're armed with small arms, they cost 7 points per base, and that is something like what, 10 14 bases of small arms. Now does that mean I can have an extra RPG? Yeah, I reckon so. With small arms, no. So it's an extra 14 bases. Good grief. So that unit is going to be absolutely massive. I'll sort the figures out shortly, but this unit here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases of small arms plus a HMG and an RPG, that's going to go up to 20 bases. Good grief. Well, that's a good start. So the people have certainly risen to the challenge. So we get 14 bases of militia. I'll just make a note of that. Okay, now you make the choice of which side you wish to follow, the left or the right. I'm going to roll for this. So 1, 2 or 3 we follow the left column, 4, 5 or 6 and we follow the right column. So we follow the left column. So the narrative tells us that we carry out atrocities against foreigners. Well, that doesn't seem very nice at all. So we roll 10. This is going to cost us 10d6. Now there's 45 points left, so there is a chance that we go over this here, and I've rolled quite well. Let's have a look what we've got here, shall we? So that's 10, that's 20, that's 30, that's 7, so we've got 8 points left. So we do actually get to roll on this now. So we'll roll the d6 to see what the outcome is, and it's a 5. Enemy troops tied down with extra protection duties. Enemy unit with the most militia groups, dice in the event of several choices, rolls 1d6 for each group. On a 3, 4, 5 or 6, the group is removed for protection duties. Crikey, that's going to impact on the Dictator's army, because they've got 2 units. It's actually Peter Bonnard's dictatorship. 2 units of 6 small arms, 2 RPGs and a truck each. So it says roll 1d6 for each group. On a 3, 4, 5 or 6 the group is removed for protection duties. Good grief. So right, let's see what we've got then. So we've got 9 bases. So each base we'll have to roll. I'm going to say that I'll roll to see first how many there are, and then we'll decide which bases are lost. So this is for unit 4. So I'll take out the 1s and 2s, they don't count. Oh my goodness. So that unit will lose 6 bases. So unit 4 loses 6 bases. That seems really rough. Right, okay. And then the second one, which is for Unit 5. And that's about the same actually. 6 bases gone from that. So Unit 5 loses 6 bases. Well, c'est la guerre, as they say. So there's 8 points left here. Now we might as well roll for it in the propaganda campaign. Gain support of neighbouring states, diffuse outrage in Western press of previous atrocities by finding the culprits and executing them, out of control elements of the army. Now this costs 66 and I've only got 8 points left, so there's very little chance this box will come into effect, but let's see what we get. And as you can see, I've rolled way over 8, so that's the end of the political manoeuvre for the People's Popular Front, and I would say that they would be very happy with that, because they practically destroyed 2 of the militia units for the dictatorship, plus gained an extra 14 bases of militia. Okay, let's see what the dictatorship can do about that. So, Peter Barnard, who designed this army way back when, spent 70 points on political manoeuvre. Let's see what he gets. So let's have a look at the narrative here. So, crackdown on dissent. Use palace guard commandos, round up suspects of unrest. This is going to cost 4d6 off the total. Let's see what we get. So we get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which takes us down to 60. Now, what's the narrative? Let's roll first, shall we? A 2. On a 2, unpopular religious leader killed, no great effect. Oh dear. So that could have been a lot better. We could have upgraded a unit of the owner's choice by 1 quality class, which could have been quite useful. Okay, so no impact there, and as I did with the previous one, I'll roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 to see if I go to the left or the right. So we go to the right. Use World Bank credits to buy weapons and tools of war. It's going to cost 66. Let's have a look. 4, 5, 6. That's quite expensive. That's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Although that is very useful for my maths, because I can take 20 away from 60 fairly easily. And we'll roll 1d6 to see what the outcome is, and we get a 4. So the opponent nominates one of owner's units to receive +1 firing dice for the whole game. One of the owner's units to receive. Okay, so I think the sensible thing, seeing as it's the owner choosing that, is to put it on one of the militia units. Because they're going to be pretty ineffective, I would suggest. So things aren't going very well for the dictatorship army so far. We've still got 40 points left. We've got 10d6 to roll for the last bit of political manoeuvre. I would say 8, 9, 10. Let's see. Goodness me, look at all them 6s. That's pretty unbelievable. Okay, so we've got 24, 30. This is going to be way over 40. Yeah. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 34, 38, 42, 45, 48. So we've gone bust. So the political manoeuvres have gone definitely in favour of the People's Popular Front. So how much of a grip on power does the dictator have in Zatumni? Not great at the moment. So to decide who's the attacker in this game, and Peter Pig games usually have a designated attacker and defender. In the original rules, it was whoever spent the most on political manoeuvre would become the attacker. I think that was right. Might be the other way around. But in actual fact, in this later publishing of AK47, we have the optional attacker rule, which we're going to use now. just because this is solo play. So in the main rules, the attacker is determined by the number of political points expended. The player who spends the higher total normally becomes the attacker immediately, which in this case would be the dictatorship. To make this aspect of the game less predictable, players can instead roll a d6 for each complete 5 points spent on politics. Each 5 or 6 is called an attack point. The player with the highest number becomes the attacker. So they're actually going to be very close. I think the dictatorship are going to be 1 dice ahead on this. So they're going to be rolling 14 to 13 for the political points, because they spent 70 and the People's Popular Front spent 68. So each complete multiple of 5. So what have we got? There's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 5s or 6s are an attack point. Fives or 6s, and this hasn't gone very well. It's actually just 2 there. That's pretty dire. So I'll take those 2 out actually. I think the odds are now, so then we need 1 more in there. So we need 13. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Okay. So 5s and 6s. And just by 1, that shows the quality of my dice rolling. That how many dice have rolled there? 27, and I've come up with 5 5s or 6s. So I should have got 9 on average, but there you go. So the People's Popular Front will be the attacker in this game. And that may suit the dictatorship actually, because having those 2 units of militia pretty well crippled, and the People's Popular Front having a huge swarm of militia in that unit 5, really would mean that it would be very difficult, I think, for the dictator to attack such a huge force. But anyway, so that is the political points and the 2 armies that are going to be facing off now. In the comments on the RFCM forum, somebody did ask about the buildings, so I'll just do a quick review of these. These were handmade for me by Wilson Miniatures. Myself and Martin Goddard both picked up a collection of these. I've got more of this than are on the table, but very simply done, but very effective. I suspect there's a shell of cardboard under there, but then lots of this corrugated plastic card on top, painted in very effective colours. In fact, you can see just underneath there. In fact, I think this might, yes, that's corrugated cardboard, plastic card, various different textures on there. Little bin, oil drum, a couple of posters, and a wrecked car with some gubbins stuck in it. There's various shapes and sizes of this. Bit of graffiti there, which is lovely. Another oil drum, a little bit of chain link fencing there, another bit of graffiti, some rubbish left behind. So yeah, they're great. I know that myself and Martin were very happy with those. We bought these actually for the later version of AK47, and just out of interest, I think once I've played this game using the old rules, I'm going to replay it again using the reloaded version. I'll play it on the same size table, which might, I don't know, might have a little bit of an effect on the outcome. I don't think it'll have too much of an effect, but I thought it'd be interesting to compare and contrast both systems. And just finally, before I close this video off, just thought I'd show you some of these trees that I made. I've got no sort of African acacia type trees. I'm not sure these have turned out looking like acacia trees, but it's just from bits and pieces that I've had lying around. I've actually made about 20 5 of these, but they're just quite short trees with twigs for branches, and then the old horsehair on top, and sprayed and then dipped in some flock, and then use some hairspray to seal the flock. As you can see, I've had to just use what I've got lying around, and it's a bit of cork for the base. It's way too thick really, but for the cost of absolutely nothing from just scraps that I've got lying around, I'm quite pleased with those. They'll look all right. So next video we should see some combat and the actual game. So let me know in the comments who you might be rooting for. The dictatorship, who've been royally screwed over in the political manoeuvre, or the People's Popular Front, the Marxist intervention workers rising up against this dictatorship. More soon. Thank you.